Nicholas Kirkland's Neurological Warfare and United States Experiments Part 5. In this episode, Nicholas Kirkland discussed the handlers. Experiments are carried out by personnel hired and trained in mind control methods by government agencies, defense contractors, and scientists working with the Department of Defense. I shall call the personnel that actually conduct the experiments, or testing, handlers. One of the purposes of the government is to train a large cadre of qualified handlers, with each team eventually capable of handling up to several dozens of targets. Based on my own experiences, the handlers who carry out the mind control activities operate in teams, with 2 persons posted at each shift. The makeup of those teams conforms to the characteristics of the targeted person or the targeted group that they handle. If a target is highly educated, the team's handlers will probably also be above average in education. Every team must necessarily include a computer specialist, as manipulation of the target's computer and email is crucial to mind control. In addition, there may be a psychologist and several others with technical capabilities that allow them to tap phones, communicate using radios and other devices, and track movements. Obviously, handlers are not chosen for their scruples and morals. Nevertheless, some people with higher ideals may be coerced into serving as handlers. As a writer recently expressed, hundreds of engineers, scientists, and highly trained technicians are unemployed with house mortgages and car notes to pay, families to maintain, and kids to educate. Thus, recruitment of handlers poses no problem. As what they are doing is clearly illegal and violates dozens of laws, they will not very likely reveal any operational and organizational secrets. TIs can hope that the conscience of one of those basically good people who reluctantly accepted a handler's job will someday compel him to expose those evil practices. Monitoring the target 24/7 and letting him know that he is being monitored is a basic facet of mind control. To do that requires at least 4 persons on a team, working in shifts of 2 persons for 12 hours. Some teams will have 6 to 8 members, working from 6 to 8 hours per shift. From what locations do the handlers work? I still do not have a firm opinion about the location. Where they work from depends on the range of the equipment that they use on the targets. We do not yet know the range, it may very well vary greatly in distance. There is some evidence that handlers may work via satellite and computers in large groups comprising many teams in secret government facilities. Others may work out of residences, rented-out buildings, little-used business buildings, and perhaps even in law enforcement facilities. The handlers may even be able to work from 2 or more locations. If local law enforcement is indeed involved in ESMC, the sheriff's offices and police headquarters certainly offer a possibility for a location for handlers. Those offices have areas with limited access and they operate day and night 7 days a week. Moreover, they have the manpower for such an operation, incidentally paid for by taxpayers. It is also very likely that the MIC does the actual hooking of the target's brains and then farms out the mind control responsibilities to local groups. The advantages of that system are obvious, as local handlers will be able to find out information about targets not included in the target's FBI files, can more easily carry out a rumor campaign and actual gang stalking of the targets, will know the local culture and the colloquialisms, can draw on ex-law enforcement officers, ex-military, and others who might be enlisted as handlers or might aid the process in some manner. The local handlers may represent religious groups, cause groups, perhaps PACs, especially pro-Israeli PSIs such as the Jewish Defense League, retired law enforcement associations, and perhaps various groups of veterans. Members of those groups are probably trained on site by previously trained and seasoned handlers. The government in many cases deludes the handlers into thinking that they are performing ESMC on victims for purposes other than military psychological experimentation. Recruiters of handlers look for particular types of people. Although I do not profess to be a psychological profiler, I would probably expect a handler to have the following characteristics. 1. Male, and to a lesser extent female. 2. In an age group from the mid-20s to mid-50s. 3. Introverted. 4. Unmarried or unhappily married, narrow mindset, fundamentalist Christian or Jewish with connections in various geographical areas or not religious at all, frustrated at not achieving in life what he felt he was entitled to, from a dysfunctional family or from a family whose parents were overbearing or took little interest in them, perhaps physically, sexually, or emotionally abused as a child or young person, bigoted toward races, alternative lifestyles, and different ethnic groups, politically conservative, holding perhaps radical pro-government views, well-traveled with broad exposure to other cultural groups, former soldiers, especially Marines, and ex-law enforcement officers. Some of the latter may be retirees well into their 60s and even 70s, unemployed, with a spotty employment record, or discontented with jobs, socially unsure of himself, with sexual hang-ups and repressed sexual urges, overlooked for leadership positions, college or university level study and/or technical training, feelings of social inferiority, resentment of others' financial success and problem-free family life, problems with money management, disabled or physically unable to work for some reason, and unclear career objectives and vague ambitions. There would naturally be caveats in practically all of those characteristics, depending on the target groups they monitor. Recruiters will probably not look for handlers who abuse drugs and/or alcohol, are single parents with small children, are not flexible in their availability, follow an alternative lifestyle, are very social with many friends of all races, color, and ethnicity, are members of reform-type political groups, and appear to be very financially successful. On our next episode, Nicholas Kirkland tackled the targets. Visit www.targetedindividualscanada.wordpress.com for more information.